dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.
Hey, what's up? What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. We got a great show for you this evening. Why? Because I said so. And the topic of discussion is going to be hopefully not triggering, but something helpful to the people that are going to be listening. You know, our title is going to be Marriage is a Risk, Why Take It? And, you know, us on the panel and the podcast have our perspective on marriage. And for me, I think it's beneficial, but everybody doesn't think so. There's a lot of things going around these days in which people are saying not to get married. But since it is a risk, let's talk about why to take it. And so the question today we're going to start with is, what is your take on MLK Day? Or what does MLK Day mean to you? And we're going to start with our philosopher, Mr. Lost in translation.
Thank you, sir. How are you today, Humble Dad?
I'm doing well, bro. What's up with you?
I am well as well. Thank you for asking.
For sure. What you got?
What Martin Luther King Day means to me is a reminder of how far we've come. You know what I'm saying? It allows us to take a look back as a reminder to make sure that we focus on the content of everybody's character instead of what they look like on the inside. And I think we may have gotten away from that from time to time, but I do appreciate having the reminder from time to time. So that's what it reminds. That's what it means to me.
That's what's up. I appreciate you as always. And we're going to welcome to the stage the Incredible Hulk, Mr. Prototype.
What's up, baby? How you doing?
I'm good.
What do MLK Day mean to me? A day off and ski trips.
A day off and ski trips.
That's been the impact it's had on me personally. I'm not the history buff or the we shall overcome person. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a little ignorant in that form. So
No worries. And then we got our country bumpkin. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the stage, Miss Ash. Well, listen, Ash, Nacogdoches is the country. Like, there's no way around it. It has what, 13,000 people and like 12,000 of them at the college.
The shade. Oh my God. And see, this is why Martin Luther King had a dream and it's become a nightmare. The colorism on colorism.
Okay. What you got?
For me, it's showing that we have digressed. We ain't progress, we digress. That's the way I take it. You know, back then it was in suit ties. Now you got, butt out season. You're half naked running around here in 2-degree weather. So to me, it's just a little reminder where we was and where we came. It's like we're gonna start putting clothes on today or tomorrow, because today everybody in the house with their clothes on. But we're gonna see once the weather change. But that's what it means for me.
That's what's up. That's an interesting take. Hey, welcome to the stage. Listen, I wish I had his voice. Mr. Robert, give me a second. The dude's always talking like he about to sing something.
Oh man, nah, not today, man. Throat is a little jacked up today, but thanks for having me on, Humble Dad.
Absolutely.
Prototype Ash, you my girl. What's going on? Always a pleasure. I personally, everybody said some decent stuff, man, but I think MLK is it's starting to become a lost cause, unfortunately. Other than me reminding my kids about the significance of it. I remember back in the day, we used to have the little color pencils, and I'm not the color pencils, but the books and the speeches. And if I didn't have the "I Have a Dream" speech on my wall, I almost believe my daughter wouldn't know about it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so I believe it's a dying cause, and I hope that we continue to revitalize whatever that looks like, you know, with the back population that sees the significance that's left. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. For
Good to
sure.
see y'all.
You too, bro. And welcome to the stage, the couple of the hour, the common sense couple. What's up, Anthony and Alicia?
Hey,
Hello.
how everybody doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for being here. What y'all got?
You want to go first?
I mean, MLK Day it is a day off. Kids are out of school, and I mean, it's just a day to acknowledge Martin Luther King. That's how I look at it. I feel like we deserve that. I mean, regardless of if you acknowledge it or not, or if you do anything to celebrate it. If they got a Columbus Day, we need an MLK Day.
Okay.
Like I said, like my wife said, it's a day to acknowledge a man that made an impact. That's what I look at it as. Like, he really made an impact in the world to that degree. Now, have we upheld that? You know, what he was doing to it? Yeah, I would like to think so, but at the same time, we still have a long way to go.
Okay, we have a long way to go. Yes. Okay. Appreciate that. All right. And then we got a newcomer. Welcome to the stage, Miss Kayandra. How you doing today?
Hello there. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What's your take on the question?
Well, you know, MLK Day, of course, it was set aside to, well, it was almost 100 years ago that MLK was born. So this is his birthday. And it was set aside to commemorate and to reflect. But I do agree with everything that's been said, although that we are to commemorate all of his accomplishments. Unfortunately, a lot of those things are being undone in our current society. And so it's almost becoming just a day that we're off of work and out of school, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a true point. Being in education, I would say, well, first, as far as being in my house, Kendra currently has the kids watching Eyes on the Prize. I don't know if y'all seen that documentary, but it's a good documentary to watch. The transition from, or mainly talking about civil rights and all the people that were involved in it, and how we got kind of like to the point of where we are. So that's one thing that you could watch. It is on, I don't know if it is on Peacock, Hulu, something like that, Amazon, one of those streaming platforms. And some of the things that I knew, and some of the things I did not know. So I think MLK Day is a day definitely to reflect, really, but it definitely has become just one of those let me get out of work passes. However, that's contingent upon you as an individual and how you deal with it with your family, because it's not the goal of anybody to educate your family. It's your goal, should be your goal, to educate your own family, right? So with that being said, I think it's a good day to reflect, and hopefully we continue to do so, and to see that one person, well, it wasn't his idea, but however he took upon somebody else's idea, made it his own, and made it pretty larger than life. And there are some benefits to what he has done. Side note, my personal opinion, I don't think that he realized what he was doing at the time and how it was a detriment to Black people as opposed to being a benefit, because segregation actually benefited us. If you actually go back and research, once integration happened, Black people felt like other cultures were better than ours, and so they began to spend their own money into other cultures and other places. And so as a result, that's why it went down. A lot of educators and superintendents were against integration. I think a lot of people don't know that. So that's my piece. And so we're gonna transition. Hey, I'm happy y'all here. We're gonna have some good conversation, good commentary as well. And we're gonna start off with a pretty simple question. Let's see. We're gonna talk about describe an example of a risk. Describe an example. Let me get this together. As you think, as a teacher, you got to give people their think time. Describe an example of a risk. And we'll start with Mr. Robert.
So a risk, man, is anything where you don't know the expected end. Anything you got to put, anything you invest in where you don't know you're going to get anything out of it. Everything, you're getting in your car is a risk. Going to work is a risk. Dealing with people is a risk because you can't control the outcome. You can't control what you're going to get in return. And you try to say things like, only thing you can do is control yourself. But even when you're your best self, it's a risk what you're going to get in return. So yeah, I think anything you encounter on the day-to-day basis where you can't predict or you can't control the outcome is a risk. And let me go with the Common Sense couple. I love them, man. Y'all gonna let me bring my girl on one day. So I love y'all, man. Go ahead.
Right on, man. Appreciate it. Like to your point though, that's how I feel. I came up with this saying some years ago. You can't stop what you can't control. So like you were saying, even getting in your car is a risk. Even eating is a risk. Everything is a risk. But it all depends on what risk you're taking. Is it worth the outcome that you think you're taking this risk for? Because as we know, a lot of people take risks for very minor things, but it's all in perspective of, the person taking the risk. Let's see. Prototype.
I'm gonna just piggyback off of what you guys already said, right? I mean, a risk is I trade stock. It's one of the other things I do, right? So I take risks on a daily. They're educated risks. I look at my charts and figure out what it's going to do. But it's anytime I put the money up, it's a risk. What I'm saying, that it can go back the other way. So anytime you're at, like you said, you can't necessarily control what what's going to happen. It's a risk. So let's go with Keandra.
Yes, Keandra.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, and I agree with everything that everyone's been saying. It's basically a situation that involves danger. That's a risk. And unfortunately, we don't know what's on the other side of taking a risk. You can educate yourself as much as possible, but there's potential danger on the other side. And so an example of that could be anything: investment, purchasing a home. You don't know what's on the other side of that, a career change. So those are just some examples. And I'll go with Ash.
Thank you. Well, y'all done said everything, so I hate when y'all do this to me. But yeah, risk is pretty much where you don't know the outcome, whether it's good or bad. To sum it up, that's what it is. That's the risk. The risk is the not knowing, the unknown, whether it's new job, new location, new relationship, new baby. It's the risk. So we're gonna go with Mr. Lawson translation. Let him go ahead and get that voice going.
Thank you, Ashley. To me, risk represents an opportunity to learn something new. I'll give you an example. When a child is young, the first time they get on a bicycle, they're terrified that they're going to fall over. At first, you got your parents that hold you up, but you still fall down. But after a while, after you get it, then you start riding around. You popping wheelies now in front of your homies. You know what I'm saying? You're aware of your surroundings. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden you have a new skill. Now this new skill allows you to take you to places you never thought you'd go. So yeah, I think sometimes risk represents an opportunity to learn a new skill. So I think kids riding a bike is an example of that.
That's good, homie. And then last but not least, Miss Alicia.
Everybody said a lot, but I think one of the biggest risks is entrepreneurship, especially if you're accustomed to working, you're accustomed to getting a guaranteed paycheck. A lot of people don't take that leap because they feel safer knowing, well, I have a check coming on Friday, or every 15th and 30th, I have a check coming, not knowing that if you bet on yourself and you take that leap into entrepreneurship with something that you really want to do, there's no limit on the amount of money that you can make. So,
Okay, that's pretty good. Y'all gave y'all pretty similar answers, which makes sense, because we all have the same idea as it relates to risk. So I want to, as always, I want to build a definition for the group to be able to pull and extract from, right? And so the question that I have next for the panel is, how is risk connected to faith? How is risk connected to faith? Because what you all said was that you don't know. That's what most of y'all said, that there's you don't know what the end is going to be, right? And so as I was listening to y'all, that's what came to mind, is that there's a faith that seems to come along with this, right? So I'm gonna let since you went last, Miss Alicia, who would you like to go first?
I pick Ash because she says everybody takes all the answers.
That's that she go first. Watch.
That's my girl. See, yeah, you need to bring the bone so I can speak and run on and go, find my bone to chew on. For me, the risk is if you really, in your word, in your spirit, like you're supposed to be, your faith is going to make you take that risk. Your faith is going to strengthen how you feel about taking that risk. That risk not going to weigh as heavy on you if it fails or it don't go the absolutely way that you planned it out. Because sometimes you got to take different avenues going off and piggyback what Alicia was saying about entrepreneurship. Because sometimes with entrepreneurship, you may have to change location, change your marketing strategy, or just change up who you're dealing with on the back burner that's supplying your product. Or it may be the type of demand that's coming for you. You may have to re-up your product in a different way. I'm going to stop because that's all I got. And I'm going to go with prototype so we can argue.
I would say risk is connected to faith, simply because you can never be sure, right? That's what faith is doing something that you can't see, right? It's just believing in, if we're doing science, you know what I'm saying, and we're working experiments, like we think in theory that this will work, you know what I'm saying, this experiment will work or something, this will happen, but until we actually do it, we quite frankly don't know. So a risk is just doing stuff, like, you know what I'm saying, without necessarily knowing what's on the other end. Like, I believe in Christ, and I believe, I'll go to heaven, and so on and so forth. But truthfully, I don't know. But my faith tells me that, you know what I'm saying. I hope I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe I'm right, but I really don't know. So we'll go with the common sense couple.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think according to the Bible, faith is the subject of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So if you have faith in anything, I'm not going to say anything, but positively speaking, an outcome that you truly desire or something that you really desire to happen, I think it's very tied to having faith. Because if you doubt that it'll happen, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to turn out the way that you want. Mm-hmm. Versus you having the faith and taking the action, you're going to make steps towards that happening, whether it be consciously, subconsciously. So that's my take on it.
Mm-hmm. You want me to go, or you picking somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it's you have to lean into the unknown, as Ash was saying. Like, it's the unknown. Leaning into it is the faith. You know, not knowing if I leave this job, what's going to happen. You know, if you leave, then you don't have any money coming in, bills don't get paid. Like, you have people tend to think that far down the line versus just stepping out on the faith. They allow that fear to hold them in, like, and that's still things unseen. That fear is things unseen. You're putting faith in fear because that hasn't happened yet as well. You don't know the outcome of that neither. You just made that up. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if you take that risk, on the other end of that, if you're really about it, what you believe in will come to pass. But because what you don't believe in is going to come to pass too. You're not taking the risk will get you right where you are or in regression.
That's interesting. I have a question for you though, Anthony. How would you say, how can faith and fear coexist?
You mean coexist as far as working together?
Yeah, because your statement, you said that because it was an interesting statement, but it made me think about when you said you're basically having faith in your fear.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking you kind of to expound upon how can they have, and don't worry about the baby in the background, it's okay. The faith and how can faith and fear coexist if they're in some regard opposite of one another?
You could use your faith as a catalyst to your fear as a catalyst to step out on your faith. Depending on, you know what I'm saying, what are you more afraid of? Like, I left my job at General Motors after 7 years. My superintendent walked me out, and he had a conversation with me about he wanted to do the same thing, but he was afraid. Like, we had a fear conversation on the way to the door. I was afraid to stay because I really felt the window closing on my life of what I wanted to do. I couldn't be there for 30 years. He wanted to go. He was like, I want to leave, but I'm afraid. My wife, my family, everybody said, you better not leave that good job, you know? But at the same time, like, I couldn't stay there. I knew that much. So I had to step out on that faith because I felt internally conflicted. If I stay here, it's going to be a detriment to my life, to my family, to everything that I built while here at General Motors. So I just feel like God took me, that's as far as he was going to take me. And then it was up to me to make that decision to step out on that faith. But I wasn't going to be afraid. I was more afraid of staying. That's just the end of it. I was just more afraid of staying. So my fear pushed me out into my faith.
I got you. Thank you for that. Who you got going?
I would say, just to go with what he was saying, I would say the fear of going to hell pushed people to faith in Christ.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Who you got going next?
Let's go with Lost in Translation.
I'm so glad you chose me, man. I'm finna piggyback off what you just said. Humble Dad, faith is a vehicle that delivers us to a future outcome that we see inside of our head. There's a scripture that says, so as a man thinketh, so is he. Basically what faith is a picture. It is a guidepost. It is a sign to where you would like to go. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also what it does, it delivers a vision for you to actually subscribe to. You know, there's also a saying that says, out of the abundance of the heart flows out of the mouth. And also, you know, what you say comes to life. There's power of life and death in the tongue. So basically what faith is a vehicle that you use to deliver you to an outcome that's in your mind. Basically, that's exactly what faith is.
I see.
Let's go with Robert this time, man.
I love everything everybody's saying. I'll say that I don't believe risk is associated with faith, to be honest. I think the opposite of faith is fear, and I believe all fear is rooted in unbelief. I think there's some things in accordance with your faith that are absolute and are cemented if you so have faith in whatever power. I happen to have faith in Christ. And there's just some things for me that are absolute. Grandmama said, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus's blood and righteousness. So for me, there's certain things that I put my faith into. And because my faith is in accordance with what I believe God is going to do for me, there's some things that are just going to happen. And if they don't happen the way that I want them to happen, that don't mean my faith is shook. That don't mean that I'm going to walk in fear. That just means, that God had a particular set of steps that were ordered for me. And so my faith says, get in alignment with my prayer life. And my prayer life says, God, just prepare me to have the peace to deal with whatever comes my way. But I'm not fearful of the negative. I'm not fearful of things that I can't control. My faith says, according to my faith, be it unto me, So I don't really associate the risk of it all. I do say that people that look at the risk side of faith, there is an element of fear. And so what I like to do with individuals that kind of talk about faith and fear, if they try to put that juxtaposed context together, I often tell them, says for a garment of heaviness, for a spirit of heaviness, he gives you a garment of praise, or for a spirit of fear, he gives you a garment of faith, whatever. So you have to bind certain things and loose certain things for them to happen. And I believe it's the posture and the position of your faith that puts you in position to ultimately either receive God's glory and God's grace and God's favor for your life, or prepare you to handle things that don't go according to his plan. According to your plan. So I try not to associate the two. Keandra, holla at us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I tend to agree with you. I don't think that the both risk and faith have much to do with each other. As a believer, I do believe that if there is a situation in which I'm having to take a risk, that I need to seek God first. And from that, that's a part of the process, right? And he will guide me and tell me whether that risk is worth taking or not. And if I am to move forward, then that's when the element of faith comes in. And so I agree that they don't necessarily belong together.
Is that everyone? All right. Did anybody want to add or ask a question in this particular segment?
Just to go.
No, go ahead, Ash.
I was just gonna say, just to go back to what Anthony was speaking on. Sometimes it is your fear that makes you rely on your faith. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, he had to move out the job and go somewhere else to be better, and I can relate to that because it was the fear of being put back on the phones for me because, my background is call center. It was like, dang, I'm right back where I started. It's like if you made room for other people to stay securement in their job, why couldn't you do the same for me? And I was like, you know what? We got to start over. Well, let's go start over somewhere else. Let's take these skills somewhere else. And then I stopped talking and start driving. But again, I could still take my managerial skills and still apply them, and which I did. I just don't know more. But it's the same. I think that goes hand in hand, and I can definitely relate to what Anthony's point was, because your fear can definitely either gridlock you into a job or make you really open your eyes to see that, hey, I'm at the window, ain't no growth here. Let's go. Let's go ahead and hit the door, because sometimes it's that fear of not having that steady paycheck. You got to go start over at that base pay. So I can definitely relate, because people I don't think correlate the two. They're like, oh, I got to start over. Well, if you're going to start over anyway, why not just take the skills and go somewhere else? Especially when you don't feel like growing, because I think that's what happened with a lot of us at these companies and stuff, that we get bitter in the job when we know we should have left a long time ago, but we done grow old. We done grew into this position and got set in the ways, and now that bitter spills in to someone else because they can't see, nothing else, because they at the ceiling, they at the roof, because they about to jump off into retirement. So I can definitely, again, relate. Lost in translation. You got it now, sir.
Thank you, Donald. What I wanted to say, Humble Dad, is that sometimes, man, we have to realize the difference between when we're fearful of something and when God tells us to do something. Because sometimes God will ask us to do something that'll absolutely terrify us. And we ask him, are you sure you want me to do that? You see what I'm saying? That is my fear speaking to God. You see what I'm saying? But my thing is if you strengthen your faith enough, then you'll have faith enough to say, you know what, you've been right so far, so let me go ahead and just be obedient and do what you say do, even though it's terrifying. So sometimes your faith and your fear, sometimes your fear comes from you. You know what I'm saying, and not necessarily your faith, because sometimes your exercising your faith is what you use to overcome your fear. 9 times out of 10, our fear comes from us in our physical realm, thinking that we're going to get harmed. But if you rely on your faith, then you'll know that there's something else after this. So it allows you the ability to continue and to do the things that seem scary.
That's what's up. Go ahead, Robert.
The one thing I also thought about while everybody was chatting is that fear is 100% natural. It's a real thing. It's something we all deal with. And so I love what you said, Anthony, in terms of fear kind of fueling your faith to a certain degree, or causing you to step out on what that looks like. What I was associating also about risk is that, but when God gives you clarity, when he gives you strategy, when he gives you some sort of wisdom, I think it removes the element of risk, and you still have the right to be scared while you're traversing whatever God is telling you to do. And I just don't want anybody that's listening to this to think, oh, I got all this faith. I'm empowered because God parted the sky. He came in my dreams and said, whatever. That's not how it works. I'm still scared. He'll tell me to do a certain, I'm still scared. He'll tell me to leave my job and go to another opportunity. I'm still scared. And I just don't want people to, naturally will say, oh, I'm taking a risk. But no, you stepped out on faith, but you're just a little scared right now. And so basically, I just wanted to make sure that, again, people that are listening to this, fear is a real thing. Try to remove the risk, because when he gives you clarity, when he gives you strategy, when he gives you wisdom, when he gives you the assurance that I got you through this process, if your faith so subscribes, then there's no risk in the kingdom. It's just waiting on it to happen, waiting on it to manifest as he said it would. Either way, though, and the key is having the peace to deal with whatever result comes from it. That's the peace.
That's good. Anyone else? Like when you're in class, anyone? Okay. That's good. It kind of transitions to the next question. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Do y'all see where I'm going? Some people do, some people don't. People that have been with me for a moment see it. All right. So my next question, because we haven't got to the root of the question, but we've kind of built a framework or a prototype, if you will, right, of what I want to kind of get to. So this is my next question. What does a healthy risk look like? What? Oh, that's wrong. What is a healthy? I didn't say that right. Look, I was in math. I need to do Spanish. I need to do English. What does a healthy risk look like? I'll give you a moment to think about that.
Because I don't even think about it.
You don't? Okay, let's go, pro.
No. So it goes back to me trading stock, right? A healthy risk is, me reading my charts and understanding what's going on, taking the signs that I'm used to, whatever candlesticks is saying this is about to happen, and making that decision based off of that, right? A healthy risk is doing something at an educated level. It's not guessing. You know what I'm saying? It's doing your research. A healthy risk is, making sure you do the background on whatever you're about to do to like if you're buying a property, this is a good neighborhood. This is up and coming, blah, 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 XYZ. They're about to build a shopping mall right here. So that's a healthy risk when you do your research and then you make a decision. Let's go with Keandra.
Thank you. I agree. A healthy risk is a prayerful yet informed risk. So doing all of your due diligence, seeking the Lord, I think that's a healthy risk. And I will go with the common sense.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. A healthy risk is a more calculated risk, an educated risk, not just jumping into something blindly, but weighing the risk, weighing the pros and the cons, and knowing best case scenario, worst case scenario. So, but if you do When you add that faith factor, as Robert said, that removes the risk, that can also be a healthy, healthy risk, healthy decision.
I would say a healthy risk is a risk, a risk worth taking. Like, is it worth it to be doing this in the first place? You know, we can overthink something that will just bring minimal gains, and then what? Is the risk worth the reward that you're seeking? You know, you have to look at that. So that's what I think a healthy risk is.
Boy, okay, who you got next? Now, the person that's next, because y'all seem to be tracking on the same part. Give me an example of a healthy risk you've taken. So who we going with, Anthony?
Let's go with Ash.
Because she can't say y'all gave her no answer, because she got to give an example.
But I got it. I got it this time. Thank you.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Let's go, Nacogdoches.
I would say the healthy risk for me was getting my CDL, because I always loved the drive. And with me going from the call center to actually learn how to drive the bus, I was like, you know what? The next stop is to get my truck. Because after these kids graduate, that's my next plan, is I want to be on the road with the truck. So that's in the progress. It's not stopped. That's always been the plan, to get my Class A. I just didn't know how to go about it or which way I wanted to start. And with me losing my position at the call center, which was the quality analyst, it pushed me over to the bus. So it's like, got pushed that way. So was it a good risk? Yes. Have I learned some stuff? Yes. Do I still like dealing with people? No. Because it's a different type of dealing with people. This is a different from here to here. So it's different. It's very different. But I still love to drive. The people, you learn to ignore them. They're going to act crazy. They're going to do what they do. But it was a healthy risk for me and mine. It has really just opened up doors, make me really understand and learn how to study the area I'm in. Like, I think it was, who was it? A Cummins couple, when it was talking about moving into the neighborhoods and see how this, the flow of the neighborhood up and coming. Or was it Prototype? It was one of y'all. I'm sorry, I forgot. Credit to where credit due. But yeah, it was a healthy risk for me, and I will go with Robert.
Something you mentioned earlier today, Alicia and Anthony. Healthy risk for me was entrepreneurship, but it was entrepreneurship because I had the proper capital. According to Prototype, I did the right research. I understood my market value, understood who my audience was. And so it was a necessary and appropriate risk because I knew I had something to offer the particular community that I was going to be a part of. But my dad told me a long time ago, it's easier to get a job when you got a job. And so just to free some entrepreneurs really quickly, it's easy to have a dream and a goal to do a particular thing, but you can't do nothing without capital. And so it's not a risk when you don't have capital. That's just a dumb choice. And there's a difference. And I think that, I think we confuse the word risk with not having the proper analytics and research that qualifies us and quantifies us for the choice that we're making. So we from ignorance perspective, we call it a risk, but it was really a choice that you made that you weren't qualified to make. And I think there's a difference between that. But I believe for some entrepreneurs, if you have the right capital, if you understand your market value, that's a risk worth taking.
Did I miss that? Did I miss you? You said that there's a qualification. Robert, you said something about a qualification.
So I said with the proper research, it can qualify you and quantify you for being able to make a choice. And I think that information moves it from a risk to an informed decision. And so I believe it's a risk at first, but it becomes an informed decision after the proper research.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so it's similar to a hypothesis.
Yeah.
Right. If you're looking at science, right? It's an educated guess, right?
Educated guess, yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking and I'm wondering, how does one go about getting the research? What does someone need to research? So whatever that case may be, like with Prototype, he was talking about stocks. I'm gonna transition in a minute, y'all rocking with me. But as far as you said that you're an entrepreneur, what were and where did you research to say, yes, I'm now able to be qualified to move in this direction? Does that make sense of a question?
Yeah. So the
Right.
first thing I had to do is I had to ask myself, first of all, am I valuable? Am I marketable? Am I someone that would be trusted to provide a service? Number two, I had to research the service that I was going to provide. So I'm a videographer. I do a lot of videography for the podcast space. I do it for the movie space and things of the such, informational space. But I had to say, do I have something that's of a minority skill set in the region that I'm in? And so I had to really ask myself that. And I learned that in the state of Fayetteville, North Carolina, it's not a minority here because people don't even have the resources to be able to afford marketing advertisement like that. But I did have to say, okay, so what area of the world, what demographic of the world is a self-revolving, thriving business sphere, if I could say it like that. And I learned that Atlanta was. So I said, okay, how do I take my skill set and how do I put it in that demographic? I took my capital and I said, hey, I'm going to turn this over not only as an investment in my equipment, but I'm going to invest in a property in another location that was going to put me in position to now turn that money back into what it is that I'm doing now. So it's about understanding what you provide, who you can provide it to, and then what does it take from a resource perspective to put seed in the ground for it to ultimately die and then grow to become what it is that you needed to become for you to be profitable. You know what I mean? I've been talking so much. I don't. Oh man, Prototype. Have you talked about this yet?
Yeah, he did. I think I think it's lost.
Lost in translation. Go ahead, bro.
You know what? Here's a great point. I'm glad you pointed out. Education separates you from your fear. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example, man. When I was coming up, my favorite thing to do was to gamble. You know what I'm saying? It was on the dogs. I had it bad, y'all. Now, how it happened was it didn't start out that way. What happened was I went out there for my 28th birthday to the dog track, you know, just out there just chilling. I didn't know what I was doing. So I went out there and bet on this one particular dog on each race. I bet on the 3 dog. And I won a few times. And the guys who was like looking at me, they was like, man, you won on that? I was like, yeah, man. He said, what did you put with it? I was like, what you mean put with it? I just bet on one dog. He said, man, you ain't gonna make no money like that. You got to bet on the trifecta and the Quinella and the superfecta. I was like, what is that? It was like, yeah, you got to bet on 3 or 4 dogs in a row. I was like, man, how you do that? You know what I'm saying? Of course, they wouldn't tell me. So, of course, I went out and I played what they said play, and I lost my shirt. So I was like, oh, man, I ain't never coming back out here no more. You know what I'm saying? So on my way out the door, I said, I'm going to the gift shop, and I'm going to get me one of these key rings. I ain't never coming back, man. Forget this gambling thing. So I walked in there, and I saw a book that says 1,001 ways to win in greyhound racing. I was like, you know what? Let me go and take a chance on that. You know what I'm saying? With that $8, I've already lost $100 out here. So let me go ahead and get this book. So I went home and I practiced on paper, and I was like, well, dang, this actually works. So it took me about 6 weeks to figure out exactly how to do it. So I didn't go back out to the track, didn't play any money. But what I did was I played on paper. I took the program, played on paper. I was like, okay, this is cool. The first time I went out there, I went from losing $100 to making $600. So I was like, wait a minute. I said, this $36 book made me $600. I said, what else can I do? So what I did was I took my technical expertise and the knowledge of somebody else and put it together and came up with a spreadsheet and a program to do the math for me, to do it quickly. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes an opportunity comes quickly. You have to be able to assess whether or not this race is worth it or not. Here's the thing, the difference how you make money in greyhound racing is you have to be able to weigh whether or not the bet is going to pay out what it's supposed to pay out, or is it going to be worth the risk? It doesn't matter if I'm right if the race doesn't pay. It doesn't matter if I'm right if I lose money when I bet. So what I did was I looked for specific opportunities. Yes, I could have won every race I wanted to because that's the way I had my system set up. But I was looking for a very specific race. And that specific race was where a dog had lost 4 times in the previous grade and they had to drop him down. So the thing about it is if a dog has already lost in a particular grade, I know he's already won in the grade that he's about to win in. But the problem is other people don't know that knowledge. So I said, you know what? They're going to miss this race. That is the race I bet on. That is an opportunity that nobody sees. Risk is the exact same thing. You take the knowledge that you armed with, you take the information that does not look good to everybody else, and that's how you win. When I tell you, I probably made more money on accident than any job has paid me on purpose. I'll probably still be I probably still be underappreciating exactly what happened. So my thing is that sometimes in life you have to make sure that you take calculated risk, and education allows you to make sure that you reduce those risks, but also your knowledge will tell you whether or not this risk is worth it. Sometimes you can be right and you can be rich. But my granddad told me, he said, you can be right or you can be rich, but you ain't gonna be both. Sometimes you're gonna have to say, you know what? I yield on this one. You know, sometimes it may not be worth it, even though you're right.
It's that old saying, all money ain't good money.
All money ain't good
Man,
money.
that's one of those slogans I absolutely hate, though.
Do you really now?
I
Let's
do.
tell us about why you hate that
I
slogan.
do, because it's like, I mean, it's like being right. You shouldn't have to compromise. You know what I'm saying? You should have to compromise your integrity, just to make a living, to be rich or whatever. But that's basically what it was saying. Compromise your integrity. You know what I'm saying? How could I put it? So if since it's MLK Day, we could talk about Black history a little bit, right?
We can do that any day.
Right. So it's you're not from an area and you go to a racist area and you're doing business, they know you're not from there. You know what I'm saying? But it's overlooking the treatment of the people that's there. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're making money there, you're doing business. You understand what I'm saying? It's one of those situations like when normally you would step up and say something like this is wrong, blah 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 blah, and you know that might mean losing the money, but at the same time you got to believe that money is going to come back to you another way. You know what I mean? Like I just can't. It bothers my integrity that way.
So for you think that any money that you gain is going to be good money?
It should be. It should be.
Well, the reason why they said definitely in Domino's is because if you get 20 on this end, it may make it to where you can't play again. And the whole objective as it relates to Domino's is for you to control the down. And if you can control the down, then you can pretty much control the table. And that's typically how you win the game if you more times than not, if you control it down. So it's mainly kind of centered around, I would say, is that how much control do you have? Are you controlling your situation? You know, have you, as you all said, have you decided to educate yourself before you move forward? So just because you get money on this end, like Lost in Translation was saying, he got money, but then he ended up spending that same money that he got just based on the fact that he had won a lot. So just because you won a lot doesn't mean that you're going to win again. So example, in real estate, I do real estate and I've done that for several years. You could think that the money that you spent is going to be invested in this particular house and you've done all the rehab, and then the market changes and now the house is not worth what you thought it was. So it was good money at first because of the numbers that you had, but it could turn out that you missed that the market was about to shift. Same thing with stocks as well. But I understand your question though. You want all the money that you earn and get to be good money, but sometimes it won't be. But hopefully most of the time it will be. So I rock with you on that. And so we're getting close to this. And so my next question, did everybody go on that one? I feel like everybody did. Did I miss somebody? Okay, so I don't miss. Okay, I ain't miss somebody. Let me see how y'all rock with this one. How much faith does it require to take risk? How much faith does it require to take risk? Now, you can give me a percentage. You can quantify it if you would like, or you can qualify it with words. Whatever the case, you can put it together however you would like. And we're gonna go with Keandra. How much faith does it require to take risk?
I don't believe that it takes a lot of faith to do anything. As we've mentioned before, there's usually in our human element, there's some degree of fear when we're relying and trusting on us. But when our faith is put in God, then all it takes is a little bit to do anything. I mean, the word says that the faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. So with that, I don't think that it requires a whole lot. With that, I'll go to prototype.
I don't have an answer because I mean that's basically it. I mean, you don't need a lot of faith, but I think the faith comes in doing the work to make the best decision for the risk. You know what I'm saying? Like the faith is going to college and believing and getting a degree because you believe at the end of it you're going to get that job you always wanted. You know what I'm saying? It's the work part. You know what I'm saying? The faith is like I said, for me, reading candlesticks or whatever to, like, oh, this is about to go up or down, blah, 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 blah. Let me go ahead and put my money in. You know what I'm saying? That's the faith. The faith is doing the work. And then on the other side, now I could take the risk.
For somebody that didn't have nothing to say, you definitely put some.
It just came out. It was the God. It was the Holy Spirit. Like, no, say this.
Let him use your prototype.
He said, say this. that's what it was.
Anybody can go. It's on you. Whoever wants to respond on the question, it's on you.
I got it short and sweet. Your faith, I will. I guess I agree with him tonight. Prototype is that work, because in doing that work, you do get tired. You do want to give up, but the faith keeps you going. That's what keeps you going forward. The motivation on what the end product is. It's not what it should be sometimes, depending on the degree plan or whatever you're doing. But I think it is within that work, because sometimes that work, it don't go as planned. Like I had to take, because me didn't understand that there was, what was it, 2 post trip tests for the CDL. So I had to take my whole test all over again, just because misinformation, and I was studying for the wrong thing. Yeah, it was crazy, and I'm glad I got it now and not the end, because it's even worse now. But it's just go to say, if I would have gave up, I wouldn't have my license. You know what I'm saying? If I would have not stuck with it, I wouldn't be driving buses. I'd be crying, doing something else, and still whining. But at the same time, I didn't give up, because my faith was, I'm gonna have my CDL before class end. We gonna take this and we gonna run with it. And hey, that's where I'm at.
I would say, how much faith is it required to? I would say, yeah. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. I'm not really asking for faith to make the risk. I'm asking for peace to deal with the outcome. And that's just where I'm at with that, simply and put. So I just want to put that part in there.
I would say, as far as faith, to get started, maybe the mustard seed. But for it to continue during the work, the implementation of that risk that you just took, hey, you need a lot of faith to keep that going. Because if it, say you hit a bump halfway along the way, it's like, damn, man, then you stop. Did you really have enough faith in that risk to begin with? In this journey to begin with? So you have to have faith to extend the implementation stage in order to get to your goal. You have to keep going. Some people lose faith and quit and just give up. So I feel like you have to have more than the outset, more than the starter, the starting the car. You need the fuel to keep going.
So there was one thing I just thought about, and the reason why I know I'm leaning hard on like dealing with the outcome is because I think there are people that have like what's called like lazy faith, and I think that's the case because they put more effort into having faith or hoping something will happen versus doing the necessary research, the necessary work to make it happen. And so it's like, I got faith and I'm, oh man, I'm gonna get canceled. And we talk about faith a lot, like in the Black church, and it helps us kind of stay relevant in our own laziness. It helps us, subscribe to our own pity versus saying, okay, I got the faith to do it, but it won't be a risk if I just do the necessary work to make it happen. There's the element of works, and if those two come together, and they have a conversation, it just makes everything worth. And so that's why I'm able to live in the peace of whatever decision God gives me the wisdom and the free will to be able to do. Because faith and works, they have a thing when they come together. That's all. Sorry about that.
No,
You know what, humble dad?
Hold on real quick. While I translate. I just wanted to make sure Anthony had finished his thought prior. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure you did. That's good. Go ahead, Loss.
I think a lot of times people don't take into full consideration of the whole entire equation. Sometimes loss is a part of faith. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to be comfortable with losing. So our problem is we think that we're always supposed to win. Peace comes from having comfort and knowing if I lose, I'm still going to be all right. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to fail, because anytime you fail, it just brings you closer to winning. Thomas Edison found 1,000 ways for a light bulb to fail, and all he needed was one to work. And I think a lot of times us as a people, we love to rely on the good outcome. We put so much effort into the good outcome that we don't celebrate when we fail. And I think that risk is one of those things that allows us to celebrate that failure, so that it would bring us closer to the outcome that we need. Think about it, man. Anytime you've ever done something and you failed and all of a sudden you get it, there's a certain joy that comes along with that. You see what I'm saying? Because you know what? I've done this so many times and now I finally got it, so that you appreciate when you actually win. You see what I'm saying? The joy comes in the morning when you've actually won. And if you can't really take the L's, if you can't appreciate the L's, you'll never be able to appreciate the wins.
That's good. Alicia, did you have something to add?
I think that I agree with most everybody said, but having faith or demonstrating faith is really just making a decision and standing on it. So if you make a decision to do something, even though you might have fear, God might have given you the okay. You know, if that's you see God first, he gave you the okay on something, but it's the decision part. So that regardless of what happens on the journey, you have peace and you can withstand whatever comes your way. So you reach an obstacle, as we all do. But I made the decision that this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to see it through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So you say you're gonna stand on business? That's the running thing right now, right? That's what's up. Okay. Hey, we're gonna transition. This is really good. So it kind of transitions into our focal point of this evening. And so I was trying to figure out how to put this question into a way that is conducive to answering it however you want to answer it. So I'm gonna just simply put it like this. How, since we're talking about risk, how is marriage a risk? How is marriage a risk? Okay. Who wants to go first? How is marriage a risk?
I would say it's a risk because you don't know the other person's true intentions. I know some of y'all are already there, but you know, from my little trial and error, he wasn't going in for the right reason. Because this is why I always try to ask people: are you in love with what you see, or are you in love with the person that's behind what you see? Because a lot of times we get caught up in the look and how they look in public, and then when they don't move a certain way or they don't act a certain way, you get upset. You know, that's not what you really need. We had this conversation a couple of shows back, is where people always want the what's pleasing to the eye, but not what they actually need to push them for their dreams, their family goals, and wherever else. And that's where I think the risk come in, is that you have to hope this person is really being genuine. You know, you don't have to redo the whole situation. But if you got to do it, hey, risk number 2. Hopefully, it works out better.
Anyone step up to the plate. Oh, it was better when we picking people, huh? Like
I'm telling you, I was thinking the married people was gonna jump all on this one. You know what I'm saying?
I tell y'all, man, I'm terrified of marriage, and I'm trying to get married as we speak. I'm engaged, I'm the
better be transparent, homie.
Yeah, I'm the Rob of a do-over, if I could say it that way. A couple times over. So I'm terrified of it. What makes it a risk is that, like, number one, are you gonna love who I become? Because I'm not who I'm gonna be, 10 years from now. And then do I have the capacity to love who you're gonna become? Because the truth of the matter is I married you for the right now in a lot of instances when it didn't work out, and then you become somebody different. We grow into other people, and then so I'm terrified. And then like kids, and so just being told, oh man. So like right now, and she's gonna get me for this, but like I tell her all the time, you love me, you want to be with me, but my kids don't live here right now. And so what happens when they show up? And it's not that she would be a bad mother. That's not what I mean. But time changes, interests change, priorities change. And you have to deal with possibly being with somebody when you're not their priority on a Monday. You have to deal with sometimes being their choice on a Tuesday. And so that's hard. Marriage is a risk because you got to love somebody that may not love you back every day. And so it's a scary thing for me. She's talked me into it. I willingly conceded to asking her to be my wife. And I pray God gives me the peace to deal with the outcome. I'm definitely going to make some intentional choices to make this the best relationship, the best union, the best covenant that I've ever made with a person, even though I've made others. I pray that this is my last one. But I think the risk is associated in, are you going to love who I become? Because I'm going to get better. I'm going to get greater. I'm not my worst mistake. I'm not my past. There's greater in my future. And I want you to be a part of that. But do you have the capacity to kind of take that on? I had to get that out before everybody started making jokes.
Listen, that's a bar, bro. You did fine.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to people that have something to say to that. I think that was really dope. Transparency is healthy. You know what I'm saying? Too many people run from it, and I can go for those that are still thinking, marriage is a risk because as you said, you don't know who you will be or they will be in the future. And we're talking about a lifetime commitment, right? And with the current information that we have, right? And so it also is a risk in the situation that you can lose that person along the way. That's my story, right? And then having to start all over again, right? So that there's a risk in that. It's also a risk in that your ideas of how to raise a family. I mean, it may be one way in the beginning that you talked about. I don't know if y'all familiar with this one video. Who was asking this lady a question? I think it was Kendra G. Kendra G was asking this lady a question about why does she want, what's going on with her current situation. And the lady had a 2-year-old and she had just recently got divorced. And she said, well, why were you not with your baby daddy? And she was like, well, he wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom. And she was a stay-at-home. You did? Okay. She was a stay-at-home mom. And he was paying for everything, right? And she said, well, what ended up happening is what my mind changed and I wanted to have a career. And he was like, well, you have a decision to make. So are you going to stay at home and take care of the kids, or you're going to go pursue your career? And she said, well, she chose to pursue her career. Right. And so he divorced her. Right. And so that was a risk that she's willing to take, but he took a risk in the beginning as well. Right. So those are the things that are kind of connected to the risk of marriage. Right. So I'm going to pause there and see if anybody wanted to add to that, because I have a follow-up statement later.
I'm going to add to that, Humble Dad.
Go.
I think a lot of times people think of risk as something that's bad, I'll give you an example. Sometimes people have a fear of losing their own identity because when you become married, you become one. So sometimes you'll learn to pick up things from your spouse, and sometimes your spouse will learn to pick up things from you. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times, if you ever hear people get divorced, they always say, I lost who I was. You know what I'm saying? They always say that. And I'm like, what do you mean you lost who you were? You know what I'm saying? You must have just got used to who you were going to be. Well, welcome to marriage. You're going to be different. You know what I'm saying? When you get married, you're going to become one. You're going to learn how to think as one. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you're going to have to die to become more. You see what I'm saying? Now, I think a lot of people don't understand that, man. They have a fear of losing themselves versus losing someone else. And I think that is a healthy risk. But at the end of the day, you have to have faith enough to know that who you will become will be better than how you used to be.
I just feel like some people don't want to grow in the marriage. I mean, like he was giving the example with the lady with the career. It's okay for right then. The choice is okay for right then. But when you really go down the line, you start have that conflicting battle, you know, and that's what makes your true self start to show. And I don't think people really honor their true selves when they get in these relationships, in these marriage. Yeah, it's fun right now, but at the end of the day, have y'all really just talked about and really just went forward with saying, hey, this is what I really want. This is what I need from you. Can you back me on this? You know, and I think for me at that time, it was more or less like, you got your own identity. I get that. I'm still trying to figure out what path I want to go with this. Because at the time, I was trying to get married. I was offered a management position where I was. And I was like, this may not be good because I might be trying to move in a couple of months. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think people really just really iron out their actual goals. They just get with people and then mesh for then, and then down the line after they done introduce kids and introduce this whole family life, then you're ripping things apart because it's not meshing no more. The seams are coming undone. You know. Who got next?
So were you gonna ask the question? I mean, there's plenty of risk, and just I don't. It's limitless to to name them all, right? But
You don't have to name them all. Just
I
name
think,
some.
I mean,
Name one or two.
you could lose your stuff. You could get hurt really bad, emotionally, physically. There's a few things. I kind of just is the next question though. Why take it? 'Cause that's what I want to get to.
You want to take? Okay, before you get to that, because hopefully y'all have seen me build this particular picture to get to this point. But Anthony, Alicia, did y'all want to add to this at all?
Yeah, we did, and we knew that everybody was gonna be looking at us first. So
why they gonna be looking at
Right.
you? I guess so.
marriage is a risk, just like a lot of things, because you don't know the outcome. So just like with anything, it's important. It's important to take time to make a decision like that. Like it's a huge decision. So like I've shared, I've been married before. So this is my second marriage. So I was never in a rush to have another failed marriage. But I felt like when I made the decision, when my husband asked me to marry him, I wanted to marry him. And I made the decision to do that because all of the things that I did want were there. Now, will they always be there? Will they always stay? I mean, so far it has been. We've both changed. We've both grown, and it's a good thing. But I think we allow each other space to be ourselves, space to grow at the pace that we want to grow at, but we encourage each other. So if I see that my husband is on a path of, hey, I'm cutting social media and I'm reading books. I'm on a path of, hey, I'm working out, I'm working on my body. A lot of times we kind of adapt to each other. That might motivate him to start working on his body. It'll motivate me to read more, so that it's kind of like we're growing at the same time. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to advise each other on. So, you could be in the opposite situation where you got one person that doesn't want to do anything regardless of what their spouse is doing. So just to see things like that prior to us getting married was a great sign to take that risk.
Yeah. I would say us, it was a greater risk for me to not be married, the path I was on. Yeah, straight up. I was out there bad. So not to say that I got married solely just for that, to save me or nothing like that. It was just, I already knew.
That, though.
What happened?
You can say that though.
I mean, it was, but at the same time, I was prepared. I understood where I was going without having a partner with me. It was a risk with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a heavy risk in the life that I was living. Like, I was really just woman to woman, moment to moment, minute to minute. There was no thought process down the line, So for me, being able to slow down and be fully committed, and when I saw the ring, or we went to look at the ring, it was no type of butterflies. It was nothing there. It was just like me buying some shoes. I knew what I was going to do. I mean, she wasn't there, but I seen the way that she lit up once the ring was on her finger. I seen it. And I knew at that moment, it was so much going on. I knew I couldn't get another ring. It had to be that one. So I was ready to take the risk. I didn't feel anything about it, just with losing the job, or not losing the job, leaving the job. It was a risk that I was willing to take, because prior to that, it was hard. Things weren't shaking right. So it's like, okay, why not? Why not? And us being together prior to getting married was me reading the candlesticks, like Prototype was saying. Like, I was doing my market research, us dating and getting to know each other. So it mitigated the risk of marriage, and also my faith in myself, knowing that I'm gonna be all right no matter what. Even if this doesn't work out, I know I'm gonna be straight in any situation. I know I'm going to be okay. So it really was a risk, but it wasn't, in my estimation. I see some fellas in these days, they be afraid, I'm not getting married because she's gonna take half my stuff. Well, if you go into a marriage thinking that's what's going to happen. She's gonna take all of it, because you chose the wrong woman. You looking for a woman to take your shit. I'm sorry, excuse me. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a chick to come rob you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'd rather take a risk with a woman that I know I'm solid with, because I can get robbed by 3, 4, 5 chicks during the week.
That's what I want to elaborate on. That's what I want to talk about, right? Like,
go ahead.
People talk so down about marriage. Oh, she take your stuff, and men aren't getting anything out of a woman. We can get a maid. We can buy this, blah, 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 blah. Man, y'all forget, man, like, marriage protects you. Men should get married for protection. You know what I'm saying? It's your alibi. You know what I'm saying? It's your, if you lived in the street, it's your go home. Like, I'm going home to my family. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's that reason to, like, get out the street. It's that reason to live longer. You know what I'm saying? And 85%, what is it? 85, 87% of millionaires are married. Right. What they know, right? That the rest of the world don't know. Well, I mean, it protects you in that, right? From being a target. Because let's say you do become a millionaire, you're a target to every woman out there. She's coming to get your cash. You know what I'm saying? Go home to your family. Go home to your wife. You know what I'm saying? At least that one's trustworthy. At least that one got your kids. At least that one got your name. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you do make it, these women out here they're gonna get you. You a target now. You're a target for her to set you up. You're a target for dudes out here in the street to set you up. You're a target for STDs. You're a target, like, you get married for protection. And that's what men don't understand. Like, marriage is protection from all this dog mess out here. You know what I'm saying? And, like, You can be a monk, right? You can be a monk, but good luck. That ain't no easy road either. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can stay away from it all and be like, oh, I don't gotta get married. Okay, go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? But marriage protects your heart as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're doing it right, you got, like, my boys jump on me all day. I'm loved. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's full of love. It protects your heart. It protects you from that loneliness. It protects you. Like, when men are lonely, we start doing dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? We don't got nobody in the crib. You know what I'm saying? We like Rockwilders. You leave a Rockwild at the crib by itself, you come back home, the house is total. You know what I'm saying? And that's how men are. You leave a man by himself long enough, oh, he's running the streets being reckless. You know what I'm saying? Go home to your family. You know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing people say. Like, why are you out in the streets? How you get arrested, man? Why aren't you at home? Go home to your family, dog. So that's why you take the risk. So you can protect yourself.
Can we just slow clap the bar of the night? It was a greater risk to not be married. Like, that's the one. Yes. I don't know who's listening to this. I don't know who needs to be freed by this, but that was the bar. That's why I said they my favorite. I'm gonna call y'all. Listen, that's the bar of the night. Y'all just prototype, Anthony. Y'all just blessed me. That's good right there. I'm sorry. That's the bar tonight.
Man, y'all have been an amazing panel. This is an awesome conversation.
I do what I can, man. I think y'all saying thank you, HD. I think that's what's going on. So I'm just gonna appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hi, Yanja, what's your thoughts? You want to get in on this?
Definitely. I'm married, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I listened to most of that, and I agree with most of it. You know, I was that kind of person that enjoyed being single. I wasn't in a hurry to get married. The streets don't owe me anything. I had a great time. I'm probably older than everybody else on this panel. And, you know, I was out there for a little while. My first marriage, I was married for 10 years. Unfortunately, it did not end well, obviously, but I am married to a phenomenal man right now. We don't like each other every day. I mean, we probably don't like each other today, but tomorrow's a new day, you know, but we love each other. And I've heard some of the things, I've heard people being vulnerable and saying that there's fear involved in being married. I will tell you this, as someone approaching their 50s, don't always look for the happiness every day, but because that's not realistic in marriage. And you know, when I hear people talking about, I don't know if that person is going to love who I'm becoming versus who I am right now. Well, I don't know who I'm going to be tomorrow. So the thing is, it's a risk worth taking, period. You know, you never know what the outcome is going to be, but you take the risk anyway, because there is nothing greater than to marry somebody that you can grow with, someone that you can create with, someone that you can invest with, someone, I mean, all the things. I have a beautiful marriage and a beautiful family, not because we love or like each other every day, but because we're working in tandem, we're working as one, and it makes it worth it.
That's phenomenal. I'm gonna echo some of the things y'all said, obviously, I think, but there's many people that have seen my journey transition from being a widower to being married, and I'm just like what Anthony was saying. I knew that I needed to be married again because I had been a husband for so long, and then becoming single, I seen that I was about to be what I didn't want to be. I was almost going to be returning to my college days, if you will, right? And I said, and I remember telling God, I think I said this before, I was like, man, you got to bring me somebody because, you know what I'm saying? This is not going to be good for your boy, you know? And kid you not, I think 3 days later, I met Kendra. Didn't know she would be my wife, just somebody that was able to give me an opportunity to talk to somebody and to invest my time with. And what I did to know that it was going to be worth it, you know, I consulted God for real. You know what I'm saying? I'm that dude. And when I consulted God, it gave me the peace to understand what it was going to look like in the future. You know, I can't talk about everybody else's relationship with God. but mine is one in which he directs everything that I do. And when I don't do it from his perspective, I seem to lose out really bad, to some degree, right? And so the things that are the advantages of being married is that you get to, as Miss Keandra said, is that you get to grow with somebody, and from a male's perspective, you get to see somebody's going to show you who you are, right? You get to see that, okay, I'm talking to you this way. Okay, so I need to learn how to talk to you better. And definitely for men, it allows you to learn how to talk to a woman even better. You know what I'm saying? As well as it allows you to be focused, because now you don't have to say, okay, where am I going to go? Who am I going to sleep with tonight? You already know. You know what I'm saying? To be 100, right? Also, you give your an opportunity for your kids to experience a healthy environment in which you're growing up. And as Keandra said, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows every day. So they get to see what it looks like for a man and a woman to come together and to work on a union that God has put in place. And they're going to take the good and the bad with it. And people don't realize this. I got this from Kirk Cameron. He said that as a parent, you're literally raising somebody's husband and somebody's wife. And so when you look at it from that position, you can see that it is a risk, but it's a risk worth taking if you have done what we said. Look at who they are. Maybe look at who their family is, maybe their mom, maybe their dad. Talk to their friends, kind of like you interview them all over again. What's their relationship with Christ like? What is their faith? How do they operate their faith? What are they doing inside the church? If that's what your MO is, that's me though, right? And ultimately, you're going to be kind of like Robert. You're going to have a somewhat of a fear, right? But that's a natural thing, right? Especially for men that feel like they're going to be losing out, right? But if you see that you're gaining an entire family and you're gaining a lineage for time to come. Otherwise, your kids are bastards, as they say. For those that don't want to hear that, but that's what you're doing when you're not putting them in a conducive environment to make it to where they grow in the way that God has established it. So, before we get out of here, I don't know if anybody wanted to add to that. Marriage is a risk. Why take it? Let me know if you got something you want to say.
I just say this: you take it because at the end of the day, as Lost in Translation has said previously, you want somebody by the bed when you going down and out. You don't want to be at that bedside alone with some doggone strangers. You want your family. Like, my goal was not to be this elderly and not married. It wasn't the goal, but hey, that's the plan for right now. But I tell anybody, I always tell my kids, just because you see me single doesn't mean that you have to be single. Single is a choice that I'm making because I choose to focus on you. Because if I bring somebody else in the picture, they're going to want attention. I can't, give you all and then not give them, or give them all, then because I don't like to do balance. I don't like balancing beans. I ain't never did. So I ain't going to play. But I would honestly tell any woman out there, just because you're a single parent doesn't mean that you have to settle for the crumbs, the crap of the bucket. You don't have to settle for that. If you really take the time and really date, really put forward an effort, and not just smile in everybody's face that comes up to you, you can conduct yourself in a way that'll bring you presentable men. I don't care what nobody say. Love is out there. Love is everywhere. It's just where you choose to find it. And our pickings, sometimes we go too fast, and that lead us to where we at. If everybody just sit down and actually just took time to actually figure out what they actually want from themselves, as far as what a spouse will look like, what their family look like, what the job gonna look like, and just to transition to how this is gonna go, I feel like we all could really find ourselves some decent people. But at the same time, if we're just looking at what we're looking at, you're not gonna find nothing decent because you're not putting that leg work. If you started going to the club, getting there free before 11, how you supposed to find what you want? You can't find what you want in there. It hasn't worked before. It's not gonna work now, because guess what? What they say, oh, the men ain't no good. I can't find no good men. Where are you looking, baby? You can't look on social media, because he know that you got 10 other people in your DM ready to, go to Pound Town. You have to stop and really think about what you're doing. You just can't just say everybody ain't no good. Because I tell somebody last time, if I'm running around here saying every man ain't no good, why have I been with every man? And how do I know they ain't no good unless I'm entertaining? And I had saw this on a clip, I think earlier today when I was on the bus. The lady was like, if you don't have to entertain everything that comes to you, just because they smile in your face doesn't mean you have to entertain them. At the first 10, 20 minutes what a guy getting at. You can kind of tell. It's going to go there fast. It ain't going to be a slow ride. It's going to be like the roller coaster. It's going to creep up. Then all of a sudden, here come the drop. And then you on the ride. It's your choice. That's what I don't think a lot of people understand. When they do marriage, they want to do a rush marriage and expect the rainbows and the sunshine. No, if you really do the work and learn your partner, you'll have the rainbows and the sunshine with the hailstorm, and you'll be able to walk through tomorrow and know that, hey, when I lay down next to this person, they ain't trying to bust my head when I wake up. You get what I'm saying? It's just, I feel like we don't put that effort into the love. We don't show our kids that effort. And I think that's why we all don't want to take the risk. We don't want to lose our things. But again, them things going to be there by your bedside, but ain't nobody else going to be there to change their bedpan. So what you going to do?
Why is there so many rainstorms that y'all keep talking about?
Because I done been through them in my umbrella.
Good Lord. Like,
Ella,
I see why people don't want to get married. Oh, there's rainstorms. This never happened. Don't look for happiness. I'm like, good Lord, I don't want to do that. Shoot,
But-
who want to go to that?
Could I challenge you? And I was thinking, because I talked about the fear, and I told you I'm happily engaged. I'm looking forward to the day that I wed. But the rainstorms, if I could say it this way, are connected to did I learn my own lessons? Because I would surmise that I was the problem all the time, because I'm just being responsible for my own choices, my own actions, and everything that I brought to it. You can't divorce yourself. And so, those rainstorms have everything to do with, in terms of what I want to prevent going forward. Did I learn the lesson the last time? And so the fear ain't love. The fear ain't companionship. It ain't covenant. It has nothing to do with, like you said, Anthony, it's worse for me to not be married. But if I had fear connected to it, if there was an element of risk, is that did I learn from me? Because I tell people all the time, when me and me have a fight, me gonna always win. And so I know that if me wins in a space where I'm supposed to be in union or covenant with somebody else, that may not always contribute to the greater good. So do I have the capacity to know when to hold them and when to fold them? Do I have the capacity where disagreement doesn't mean disrespect? And I'm not saying that all these areas apply to me, but I'm talking to the person that is fearful of making that commitment and saying they don't want to trade in their singleness for union. It's really asking yourself, have you learned from life's mistakes? And the last thing I'll share is one of the things that kind of took off on our podcast is, have you lost enough? And I believe when you get to a space where you've lost enough, in divorce, when you've lost enough because of what settlements come from that and all that kind of, when you've lost enough sleep, you'll get to a point where you'll rest in the fact that it's better for me to be in union. It's better for me to be in covenant. And then you make the necessary and requisite sacrifices to do so. So
That's what's
Yeah. Can I touch on that real quick?
Yes, sir.
I completely agree with what Robert just said. Like, going through the growing phase of being a bachelor or whatever, it it was crazy. Like you had just stated, it was better for me because I kept meeting the same woman in different bodies.
Dang.
Like I kept seeing the same person. What was that Bruce Lee quote? It's like the pain will leave the body when it's the lesson. When it's done teaching you. You know what I'm saying? So I kept seeing the same woman because, like Ash said, I was putting myself in that same environment at the club, at the lounge, at the bar, in social media, Facebook. It was all easy, but I kept meeting the same woman. There was nothing challenging about it, and it was draining. Like it was draining. I was drained. Like I was oversexed and drained to the point that I had nothing left to give, even to myself. So it was I lost me before I even got married. You know what I'm saying? I was losing me to the streets. I was losing me to these women. I was losing me to this life, this liquor, this money. I was just losing me constantly to where I was just depleted. Like I was on my ass spiritually. So when my wife came around, we just talked. So it was all about talk. It wasn't any sex. All the drinking. I mean, I was still drinking, but all the other stuff that I was doing, it was done. We were just building spiritually. We were building, just connecting. Just what does she like to do? What, deep things. We had deep conversation, which was, it piqued me. It piqued my interest, and it filled me back up to where it's like I could give all of this to this woman. I can give all of who I am to this woman in this moment and in this life. And that's where it went for me. Otherwise, I just would have been, I don't know where I would be right now.
I think
That's what's up.
Say something.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I want to say something back to kind of in response to what Ash was saying about single mothers or single women kind of making the wrong choice in men or moving too fast, ignoring the red flags, putting yourself in spaces to meet men, but you keep meeting the same type of man or the wrong type of man. I think it's important to definitely try to be happy in the singleness. It's hard being a single parent. When we got married, I already had 3 children with my ex-husband. And while my ex-husband was always there, he was always there for his children, it was still hard. It was hard, but I would never use that as a primary reason to say, "Ooh, I need somebody. I need a husband. I need somebody to come and help me with these kids." Because at that point, you probably gonna draw the wrong person. So I had to really focus on, for one, just the desire to get married. I was never opposed to getting married again, but I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't looking for a man. So with me just being focused on me, taking the time to focus on my children, because I knew if I was to get married again, that time would have to be divided, so it just wasn't a rush for me. I had to sit with that and learn me. And it was really, I just didn't have a problem with it. So when he came, it was okay that we took that time to know each other, to learn each other, to just evolve into what it was going to be versus, hey, are we getting, like what's happening? Or are we going, like, I'm on a time crunch? It just wasn't like that. But I do see, mistakes can be made when you kind of putting certain reasons that shouldn't be primary when it comes to making a decision.
When Prototype said y'all want to cook, you know what I'm saying? I'm always the individual that try to get y'all out of here. You know what I'm saying? But y'all be on this Pentecostal time. Shout out to the Pentecostal, but you know what I'm saying? I'm okay with that. Are y'all good with conversation? Some people got to go. I understand that. Anybody still open to having a conversation?
Yeah, I wanted to add something that to Anthony and Alicia, what they said a second ago.
Okay.
Both of them and Ashley spoke to something that resonated with me, man. They said they kept meeting the same type of person. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to let them know that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. What you're experiencing is that you're meeting the same demon in different skin. You see what I'm saying? That's the reason. Inside of you agrees with what shows up. The thing about it is you're going to have to learn how to change what agrees with them inside of you so you don't keep meeting that same spirit. If you ever take the time out to look that person in the eye, there seems like there's something familiar there. That's because that's the same demon that shows up every single time. That's the reason why something in you resonates with them. But until you actually improve upon, and until you root yourself, you know what I'm saying, in the spirit of God, and make a space for God to live there, it's inhospitable for those demons to relate to something when God is in your house. So I would tell people to make sure that you clean out the inside, so that way God can reside inside of you, so you can actually relate to the God in somebody else who actually resonates with you. So that way you can actually meet the person you're supposed to meet. So clean out your heart first. And that way you don't keep meeting the same demon in different clothes.
I'm working on it. It's hard. It's deep. It's, coal is hard to get out. That smut is something serious.
You got to cough it out.
So one thing I
But
realized is
I've been
like,
doing a lot of social, like a lot of, not to cut you off, prototype, but I have been doing a lot of reflecting the last couple of years and doing what Lost in Translation is talking about, seeing what's wrong with me. Not saying that I'm just perfect. Y'all know I'm wrong 99% of the time. But at the same time, I'm peeling back layers, thinking about things in a different perspective, how I handle it. Because sometimes, like I tell you all the time, I go about things the wrong way, but it gets the result that I want. And it doesn't work and resonate with everybody. So it takes work to really try to grow and move forward, because you got to get out of that comfort. You got to stop being comfortable with the wrong. And I think that's a lot of times what be my problem. I'm going to put it on me because I'm comfortable now. I don't want to move. Like I said, I don't want to find a balance between men and kids. I just don't want to. I'm being lazy. I'm just resonating in, I'm single. I'm just going to ride it out till they get grown. And then I'll get back on the dating train. Because now I feel like, for me, being a single parent, I was robbed in the beginning because my kids had to go to daycare. Like some of those first moments, I don't have them. Somebody at daycare got them. Somebody else record them. Got to record it, and it's in a system because they have to have cameras. That's why I tell you, if anybody getting married, have your children's then. Make sure that that's what you want to do, because some moments you can't get back. Because I looked up, my oldest was just walking. Like, when did this happen? When did Sharon start working? Did anybody want to tell me? I'm the mama. Can somebody inform me? But if you are able to stay at home, or if you have a partner that can work with you, you're able to see those moments, those cherished moments like that. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Some of us miss out on that, and we beat ourselves up. And you don't want to miss out on nothing else with your kids. That's where I'm at. I'm just gonna say that's where I'm at.
I think I have a question for you, Ash.
What's up?
Do you think that there's a fear that you have in getting in a place of wanting to be married while you have kids in the house? Or is it you think it's maybe an executive decision to want them to be out of the house first before you start considering marriage?
For me, it's both. The executive decision is, if I get you out the house, I have to worry about you, but not as much. Because see, with me, it's more or less, I want to know that the man that I have is the man for me, not the man that's coming to get what's in my house. You understand where I'm going with that? Because a lot of times you see that people do prey on single mothers because they know that you're working and you work a lot just to make sure your kids have. And I'm the one that works a lot. I'm going to push 42, 43, 48 hours out if I got to make sure everything runs smooth and nothing miss. And I don't want a man in here cooking up a shit storm while I'm at work. You get what I'm saying? Not saying everybody's like that, but sometimes the demon's at the front door with a smile and ready to grab whatever's in your house. And that's not where I'm looking at. And it is an executive decision at the same time, but it's like, I done played enough. I done dated enough. I got these kids. Let's work on building quality women, because at the end of the day, they have to leave me. And like I tell them all the time, if you want to be independent, you got to understand what independent means. You can't just throw it up in a man's face. If you're going to be independent, that means you need to learn about your car. You need to learn how to operate certain things in your house. You need to learn how to cook for yourself. You need to learn how to operate somewhat on your car. You need to understand what you're driving out there. Just hop in and out, that's not the answer. You get what I'm saying? So with me right now, I'd rather push out productive little women instead of half-ass. Like I really focus on them and getting them out, showing them how to be actual women. You don't have to be independent, but you can be an actual soft woman and be able to fend for yourself and not being taken advantage of.
I got you. I got you. So I would ask Keandra if you could in Alicia, because y'all said y'all been married before, right? So I'm interested in how, if you could, or if you would, or how would you counsel somebody or suggest to Ash in her fear, because it's an understandable fear, right? But I suggest, I don't know your situation, Keandra, but with Alicia, you had kids and you was like, but you're still willing to marry. So how would you encourage or give a word, if you could, or if you want to, in Ash's situation? What would you say to her to help her move in that direction?
So yeah, my situation was that I had a little one and I was married the first time around. I was married and I did have some fear. And my fears were, I don't know what all your fears are, but mine were rooted in because I was sexually abused as a child. And so mine had everything to do with that. I just didn't even want a man around my daughter. I had a daughter and I just didn't even want anyone around her. I didn't want them to look at her. So I was terrified when she was a little girl, just kind of bebopping around. My daughter is now 29. But I will tell you, if you want to talk about fear, I reluctantly got married, but I watched him so much so that it created problems in my marriage because I was so afraid. It's like I would pray and cry out to God, man, God, please don't let this man touch my child because I will kill him. That kind of fear. And it created quite the wedge in my relationship just because I could not ever trust him. So maybe our fears are different. But after leaving that marriage, and I was single for a long time and got quite comfortable being single. In fact, I found so much peace in being single because I didn't have to worry about that fear. Not only because my daughter was growing up, but just because I just didn't have to worry about it anymore. But in that, I allowed God to heal me. Now, I went through the phases. I trauma bonded. I was meeting the same kind of guy over and over again. And I realized we were just trauma bonding most of the time. But eventually I got myself some therapy, some real therapy. I'm not talking about that counseling that people don't really know what they're talking about. I'm talking about people that understood, had a specialty in the kind of therapy that I needed, which was sexual abuse therapy. I got some help. And I walked away with some tools to help me. And that coupled with, doing the work, doing the hard work, because we've said on this podcast that faith without works is dead. And that's true. So I had to put in the work and I had to allow myself to trust again. And so I would challenge you that whatever fear you're dealing with, if you're first able to identify what that is, and then talk to someone who is qualified to help you through that, gain some tools, do the work, and then face it. But it's better on this side. I love being married, y'all.
I would definitely say, don't get married until your kids is gone. Like, there's no way to get rid of that fear. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do nothing till your kids is gone. Like, you know what I mean? Only way, me personally, I don't see how you can get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see why Keandra went through all of that. You know what I'm saying? With that fear, and while it would definitely put a wedge in between your marriage. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody wants to be looked at as a predator in your own house. But at the same time, you're like, hold up, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the world is the world, and it's not safe. So, it's always one of those things. Like, like my kids never been outside of my sight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up a latchkey kid and everything. My mom was at work and school, and I had the whole crib to myself. Allowed me to get in a lot of trouble. Like, but my kids have never spent the night over anybody's crib. You know what I'm saying? I don't let them little dudes out my sight. You know what I'm saying? They're just too happy, too jolly, too gullible. You know what I'm saying? There's I wouldn't know what to do about that. Like, you know what I mean? So I would say wait till your kids is, you know what I mean, and when they're grown and gone, then you know what I mean, go ahead and have your second life. But as of right now, I would just suggest, you know what I mean, stay strong, stick it out until they're gone.
Here
What
you
you
go.
got, what you got, Alicia?
I,
You don't have to unless you want to.
I was gonna say, I mean, I understand the fears that she has, so I wouldn't. There's nothing I could advise her on. I don't know her experiences. I don't know all of her fears, but I understand. Like I've heard, or I know women that decided that I'm not getting married while my children are in the house, and that's that. That's a decision that they make, and I respect that decision. You know, that's completely understandable.
You know what? I want to say thank you to Kendra for sharing that with us
100%.
because she really don't know how many women she just helped with that statement. There are a lot of women who live in that fear because of that particular situation. And the reason why I applaud her is because she fought through that. You see what I'm saying? She went and sought counseling. And so many women don't seek counseling. And here's my thing. There's an opportunity that she's providing her kids to see that other women who refuse to do the work, she's allowing herself to have her kids to see what a healthy marriage looks like. And I think sometimes in our selfishness, we like to protect our own egos and our own fears in spite of giving the opportunity to have our kids to see something greater than what we had. You see what I'm saying? Because think about it. We may be able to train our daughters to be fine young women, but are we training them to be the wives that future husbands need? You see what I'm saying? Are we training our sons to be the future husbands that our future wives need? We can't do that in a vacuum if they've never seen a man and a woman work together. And I think that is the paradigm shift that we'll find ourselves in now. So, Kendra, for that, I applaud you.
Thank you.
Really do, because there's so many women who need to hear that story and let them know it's okay. And here's the direction that you need to go to solve that. Because I will tell you, if I had $1 for every time a woman has said, hey, you know what, I'm going to focus on my kids now and I can't do a relationship. If I had $1, I promise you, I would probably be rich. And that's probably speaks to a lot of what some of the guys are saying. Say, hey, I'm not going to date a woman who has kids because of the story that you shared, because there's this fear. So the men are saying, I'd rather not, scale that wall. You see what I'm saying? I'd rather not invest in something that's already broken that I can't fix. I'm always going to be number 2 or 3 on the list. I'll never be number 1. Even though I'm willing to put in number 1 work, I'll never be number 1. And nothing says I don't love you than reciprocity unrequited. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of those things that I'm glad you spoke to that, because not only are you speaking to the women, you're speaking to the men as well who are thinking and considering of dating a woman with children. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That was phenomenal. Yeah, I was gonna applaud you as well. It's a big deal to be transparent on a space where people have somewhat of access to you to some degree. That was one of the reasons why I was transparent. Had a fear of being transparent about my own circumstances of losing someone, right? Because I didn't know how people would receive that. You know what I'm saying? And then being married got married in like 18 months after I lost Jen. However, God has the final say, right? It is important for. I mean, think about it. If you read the Bible, I'm thinking that some of them people will like, God, why did you have to put this in here? You know what I'm saying? Like the transparency that's in the scriptures, have helped us, and those of us that read it to come to a point of understanding that there is when we get hurt, there's a way to get healing. Without those stories, and those testimonies, what would we have? You know, so I applaud you as well as Robert and everybody else that's here. I mean, everybody has kind of alluded to the fear that they had. I mean, Robert talks about him having a fear of being married as he's engaged. You know what I'm saying? How transparent is that, right? Along with everyone else. So I appreciate, you know, I appreciate the time that you have given me to talk to me and others that will hear this from forever, right? Because this will last until infinity. And I don't take it lightly. That's why I always try to get y'all out at a reasonable time. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't owe you, you don't owe me anything, and I can't give you much of anything as of right now. You know, so I value that. And so I want to say thank you. Make sure you check out Lost in Translation on all platforms. You know what I'm saying? He's the Barry White of the group. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Prototype. You know, he's a heavyweight hitter. People don't know, but Prototype actually care about people. You know what I'm saying? So we heard it tonight. If you ain't heard another before, listen. Hey, Prototype, you need to clip that out for yourself, bro. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Ash. She always comes with it. You know what I'm saying? She allows us to hear her life story and how she's trying to get better each and every day. And I would caution you to say that you're 99.9% of the time wrong. You know what I'm saying? I think you downplay the work that you present and the value that you give. Shout out to Keandra for being so gracious to us and providing us the clarity of which we need from a married woman's perspective. I think that's a part of what's missing in this space. And that's why I try to reach out to married women to help them, to help others see the value that you all bring into a marriage, and that is not what other people seem to think that what it is. And shout out to the couple of the century right now. You know what I'm saying? Anthony and Alicia. Like, y'all got A's for real. You know what I'm saying? It's in your name, right? I appreciate you all and all the work that you're doing. I think were y'all on a fast last week? Was that what it was or something?
No, we had a challenge. We had a 3-day challenge last week.
It was something like that. Okay. And y'all have challenges regularly?
That was the first one. We may roll it out again next month. We're trying to figure out how we're gonna do it. But yeah.
All right, keep us posted. You know what I'm saying? So I can let people know about that. You know, and don't forget, hey, shout out to Prototype. Hey, he doing this thing on Tuesday nights. You know, he talking to gentlemen about what it is to be big time men on Tuesday nights. Are you still doing Wednesdays?
No, we're just on Tuesdays right now. Tomorrow we're talking about is it worth caring about the Black community, man? So check us out. Yeah.
That's gonna be something. Hey, make sure you drop that link, bro. Or put a flyer out, bro. You be bugging. As much technology you know how to do, you don't put no flyers out to let us know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Do that. All right.
I got y'all.
I bet. And when y'all come on the Common Sense Couple.
I'm sorry.
When can we find y'all? Y'all do lives or anything like that?
Yeah, it's sporadic. It's sporadic.
So just follow them and then hit the subscribe and the notification. But Keandra, I didn't want to miss out. What can we find you at?
My husband and I have a page on IG. It's coordinated_couple, or you can find me on IG at Keandra.
Oh, that's right. Hey, they be coordinating for real, for real. Y'all need to go check them out. Like, she put their stuff together for sure. Yeah, that's what's up. I remember now. And then Ash, you over there on IG. You on anything else, Ash?
No, it's just IG for right now. Like I said, I'm lazy right now.
Listen, stop speaking those things and just come on with it. You know
I have a YouTube channel, but the thing is, when your kids get hold of things and change passwords and things, I got to get back in. So that's where we at. But yeah, you can find me on IG. My new thing is Uncensored Mom, where I'm just talking about strictly just mom, and I link it with 360 Diva, so it's easy to find until the page get a little bit more followers. You know, I'm sharing the reels. We getting it out there that being a single mom just ain't what it cracked up to be. I don't care what nobody say.
That's what's up. And then you got Mr. Robert. Give me a second doing this thing. Talk about it, Rob. What you got? What's going on with you?
You're on mute, Robert.
Man, oh man, got a couple different things right now. I'm executive producer over a podcast called Real Reckless. We just did a live recording, sold out audience. We got another one coming up in the spring and the fall. But biggest shout out to me and my old lady. We have a thing called the Check-In. It was one of our most viral posts on IG. It propelled us to the followers that we have now. So we're releasing the check-in, and we're
You
literally
can say it's at 20,000. You can say
no, I ain't worried about that.
that. Well, then I'll say it.
It helped us, but I will tell you this: for anybody that Ash, anybody that's talking about their page or whatever, before that post, I had 275 followers, working hard, grinding, doing what we were doing, and that particular transparency. All I said was, "Don't mess with my pride, my money, my ego, or you're gonna make me have a conversation with my future." That was a punchline, but the point is, we have the check-in. I love her to death. Thank you. I'm gonna tell her what you said, Anthony. Hopefully it's going to get me some points. It's a bigger risk to not be married to you. So, and I'm gonna give you some flowers with that too. So, I enjoyed being with y'all, man. You can find me on IG, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. We just started that page up and everything like that. And all of our social media outlets will be live after February 1st.
That's what's up. Hey, and this is a Humble Dad for sure. It's been a pleasure to be on the stage with you all. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and all that jazz. We're growing. I started doing the clips and everything. We at 840 right now. Trying to get to the G on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, I seen the reels, the dump. You've been loading them up.
Yeah, I ended up I had an interview. Somebody interviewed me on Wednesday. And he gave, I think it's Opus. Have y'all heard of that AI?
Opus Clips.
Yeah, Opus Clips.
Opus Clips. So I started using Opus Clips, and that's what I've been using. So that's what was helpful. Before, it was me trying to do it by myself, and everybody knows that takes forever. So the Opus Clips allows me to, and anybody want to use it, it allows you to also schedule out as well. So you can sit down and then you can schedule out what you want to do. It is a cost, but it's definitely worth the risk. You feel me?
That's fair.
All right.
Yep.
So, hey. Until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.